Hello everyone, HardlyBriefDan here with episode 1 of the October Game of the Month series. Now, I know this is probably going to raise some red flags with quite a few of you, so let's just talk about it right away. What happened to the September Game of the Month series, and why did we not finish it? Are the two probably big questions on a lot of people's minds. So the first one, nothing happened to the September Game of the Month. We're actually going to be continuing it in October. I know I did mention in one of the videos, I believe, about probably having to continue the project into October instead of just doing it in September. So that's what we're going to be doing for October, is we're going to be continuing Detective Dave. And to answer the second question, why did we not finish? Well, first off, we started the project, or this Game of the Month in September, like on September 12th, I think it was. So we're about, 2 weeks behind already. And I work a full-time job, and I got pretty busy this past month. Hopefully October's a little bit better for me. But I just didn't have enough time to get enough videos out to finish the project. So it's not a big deal. We're going to go ahead and finish it in October. I'm going to make it so that we will do it. We will finish and have our second game done as a community, which is awesome. I'm really excited about that. So hopefully you look forward to that. I am going to go ahead and review everything in just a moment. I wanted to announce a couple things about the channel. First off, I'm starting to create a website. So hopefully in the next couple, probably in a month or so, I'm going to release the website, and it's going to be a good spot for the community, the HardlyBriefDan community, to interact and ask questions and ask each other, get help from each other, and also be another form of media that I can do some cool stuff on. So besides that, we got the website going up. I said that'll probably be about a month. I'm excited about the growth of the channel. We've reached over 1,000 subscribers. Right now we're at 1,100 subscribers, which is really amazing, blowing my mind. I cannot believe how far the channel has come in just a few months. So that is awesome. So keep telling your friends, keep sharing my videos, and like and subscribe if you enjoy what you see. So let's go ahead and get started with the October Game of the Month series. As always, with the first episode, I'm going to kind of go ahead and explain what the series is, what we're doing, and then I'll do a quick recap of what we started and left off in September. So the Game of the Month series is what I'm calling it right now, and this is the month of October. But the idea is to finish a project. So what we want to do is create a simple project that we can finish in a month and actually have something done, have something to our name. And so what Detective Dave is in September, or at the end of August, we went ahead. The community voted for a point-and-click adventure. There was a little bit of some people thought I meant a Diablo-type game, like RPG hack and slash, and unfortunately I didn't mean that. I meant like a puzzler kind of point-and-click adventure, like Myst-type game. So I came up with the Detective Dave, and where we are now is you can actually go ahead, and all the links below, there's a ton of them in the description below that bring you to, you can download Unity 4.6 beta, which is what we're using for Detective Dave. There's also a link to the the Google document, which is the Google, or the game design document, that kind of wrote up with a lot of some of the ideas that I thought would be good for the game. Besides that, we didn't make too much progress. We started working on the main. We came up with a simple main menu where, new game, continue, and exit. And right off the bat, I got some great feedback. And people said, why don't we, instead of having a very structured game where there's only one outcome, why don't we, generate a random case? So like with random suspects and stuff. And that's what we started working on. We started working on creating a random case generator, basically. And we didn't get too far into it. But we started laying out the basics, and that's where we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and review what we had done, and then we'll kind of just jump in and start working on it again. If any of you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. You can send me a message on Twitter or something, or Facebook. All those links are down below. You can go ahead and message me on there, and I'll try my best to answer it. So basically, this is the scene that we have created. We're using the new Unity UI, which has a canvas on it, which is called the main menu here. And under our main menu canvas, is three buttons. We have a new game button, a continue button, and a exit game button. And this is the event system, the event handler system that is also in the new Unity 4.6 UI. But basically, I hadn't talked too much about the event system, and that's partially because I don't know a whole bunch about it. Basically, I know it handles inputs and stuff, and that's all I know so far. But I showed you guys how to use buttons, and we're accessing these buttons via code script. We created a main menu GUI script that you can see down in here in our scripts folder, main menu GUI. I'll go ahead and open that up in monodevelop in just a second. But I created these buttons. They're linked to functions, and when I go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and press play. And when I press play, I hit a new game, right? None of these other buttons work, but new game works. And when I hit new game, this is where our case generation script comes in. And as you see in the console up here, you can see that we've generated some things. We've noticed that we clicked the new game button, and we're generating our case. We generated a robber, and we gave him some stats. You know, his name is Bill. He's age 31. He's a robber, and he's a male. And these are just this is just a description, a name, an age, and what we're going to work on is we're going to jump into our evidence, which is what we create, items that we create for the case. I might end up changing this a little bit around later, but for now we're going to go ahead and jump into that because that's basically where we left off. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into all the code, and we're going to go ahead and explain where we left off. And if you're just joining us, I welcome you to the series. I hope you can stick with us for the month, and we can finish a game together. But basically what we started off with first was a main menu GUI script. It inherits model behavior because we have it attached to a game object in the scene, and the game object that it's actually attached to is our main menu canvas here. So if you go up, if you're just starting out, right, you're just starting a brand new project here with us for October, and you want to catch up to where we are, we're in a brand new scene. We have our main camera here, and if you're new to Unity 4.6, all you have to do is go ahead and go to game object, the new UI element here, and go ahead and click canvas, right, and that's going to actually add a event system for you and a blank canvas. In the canvas, it'll actually say canvas and event system here in the hierarchy on your screen. And I just went ahead and changed the name of the canvas to main menu. And then what you can do from there is highlight main menu and go ahead and in game object UI and add 3 buttons. So I'll go ahead and show you that. I highlighted main menu here. I'm in game object. I'm going to UI and the drop down. I'm going to go ahead and click button. And button's going to add a new button excuse me, on our canvas. So you can see here we have our you can see that we have our 3 buttons, and then the new one, it's called button. I went ahead and changed all of our button names to new game, continue, and exit. And if you want to edit the text, so here on our new button, you can actually see it says button. If you want to change that, you can go ahead and access the text component in the inspector, the text component in the inspector, and you can go ahead and edit that text. So you can say, let's say test, right? And that allows you to edit how it looks. We also talked about, briefly talk. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Just hit the delete key, get rid of it. We also talked about a little bit about the anchors, and what an anchor does is basically allows you to resize the screen. So by default, the canvas is attached to the entire screen. You can look at the different types of canvases, like the render mode, So we're in screen space overlay, meaning it's going to overlay the entire resolution of the monitor or screen. And these little anchors up here on the rect transform, this is the new thing in Unity 4.6 UI, allows you to anchor these buttons. So when you adjust the screen, they're all going to they're going to gravitate towards that anchor. So like I have them all anchored towards the center, so you see they're staying relatively centered. Now if I get really tiny, they're going to eventually bunch up. But basically, these are what anchors do, and they're great because they allow the screen resolution to be dynamic and change. And there's a lot more stuff you can do with it. I have a video out. You can go ahead and check it out. It's basically The More You Know, Unity 4.6 Part 1. I haven't released a Part 2 yet. I definitely want to go ahead and do that soon. But definitely check that out if you're curious. But basically, where we're at, we have a main menu or main camera, a main menu which is just a canvas with 3 buttons on it. A script, the main menu GUI script is attached to it, and the event system we didn't really touch. So Now I'm going to go in Model Development and show you the scripts. We have 4 scripts that we have created. Oh, excuse me. We have 4 scripts that we have created. We have a main menu script, main menu GUI script here, an inherits model behavior, and this is the actual code for it. Basically, we have 2 public functions here that we use to access the buttons. So when you click on the new game button in the game, this is actually what happens. We're going to delete all the save information in our player prefs. We haven't saved anything yet, and then we're going to go ahead and call this case generation script and generate a new case. And that's where we got with that. The on continue button, basically, if you hit this, nothing happens yet. We're going to be loading information later, but we just debug a statement to the console. This is a statement here. It's private, and it basically it creates this variable called case gen script that has the case generation class attached to it, so you can access it. We created 2 classes that do not inherit anything, and they are called suspect and evidence. Suspect is just basically a type. If you've watched my Unity Make an RPG series, you've seen me create these types before. Basically, it allows me to create an object called suspect that inherits all these little things here, like a name, a biography, an age, a gender, and a gender type, and a suspect type. And again, this is a game that we're creating together. You don't necessarily need to copy me. It's just a way for you to kind of see how a simple game might be created and give you ideas to create and finish your own. So this is the suspects class script. If you need to go ahead and copy it, you can pause the video now. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the evidence one here, and the evidence is pretty simple. We have a name, a description, a type, which I actually need to change from suspect type to evidence type. You can see that I just copying pasting before. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So again, if you need to copy this, go ahead and pause the video and copy it down, because this is what we're going to be using. So this is called evidence type, and it inherits trash, medium, a high, medium, or low. And again, what these types mean, there's going to be a couple scenes, and the scenes are going to have evidence pieces in them, and depending on that type of evidence will determine how important it is to your case. Now, a piece of high evidence could be like a fingerprint, but a piece of trash could literally be a bottle that's on the ground that has nothing to do with the case. Right now, so those are the two scripts, and then the last script we started working on was our case generation script, and I'm in that now. It's called casegeneration.cs. These are all C# scripts, by the way. I code in C#, if you did not know that. But basically, this is the entire class here that handles case generation. We have a public function here that we call that basically creates the new case. Right now we just started creating a robber. We are looking at creating another suspect, which is going to be just suspects. So so let me go ahead, now that we're here where we're generating the case, let me explain a little bit more if you haven't actually read the game design document, or if you're just joining us now to create the game. But basically the idea is you play a guy named Detective Dave. Detective Dave is a detective. He's a veteran on some police force, and there was a bank robbery, right? And the bank robbery is what the case is. The case is always a bank robbery, but the suspects, and items like the evidence changes, right? Because it's randomly generated. So each time you play, it's going to be a little bit different. The same general concept is going to be the same. Someone broke into the bank and robbed it, but however the case is generated will depend. Will give you a different play experience. It might, the best evidence for that game might be different than the last game. Oh, sorry for hitting the mic. So that's kind of the idea. You can go ahead and read a little bit more about it in the game design document. It was originally set up that we were just going to have one specific case and specific items, but again, the community you guys wanted a more randomized set, so that's what we're going to do, and we're going to go ahead and jump into working on our create new suspect private function here in just a second. So hopefully everyone's kind of caught up. Hopefully if you paused the video and caught up to where we are. We're not, we haven't done too much, so it's pretty easy for us to kind of catch on to where we are. So let's go ahead and start setting up a few things. We've created a robber here, And I'll kind of run through the script here and talk about it, or this method, excuse me. It's a private method called create new robber. And basically every person in the game is considered a type suspect, right? So we have a robber who is a suspect. The robber is the main suspect. This is the guy that you, at the end of the game, you want to say, hey, this is the one that did it, right? So, and this is randomly generated, of course, like we're talking about. It chooses a gender here. We know it's a suspect type is a robber, so we know that he is the one that performed the action. It randomly chooses a gender, and then based on its gender type, we go ahead and assign a name to it, which you can see with this if-else statement down here. We also assign a random age between 19 and 55. That's just, for fun. It doesn't matter what the age really is. It won't pertain to the cases of now, but, it's available. Now, the other cool thing we added was a suspect bio, which is, all these are actually string arrays that we created. This one's called suspect bios. It's the string array. It's of size 1 right now because we haven't really added any, and but we can go ahead and add more later on, the farther we get into the game creation. Now, the last spot we left off was creating a new suspect, which this is going to be basically a witness, right? And my idea is to create several witnesses, and we have, in our suspect class, you can go ahead and see that we have witness, a key witness, none, and robber. So a witness is someone that obviously witnessed the event. A key witness is someone that noticed something special. And so what I'm thinking what we're going to do now is create the key witnesses. And I think for each case we're going to have two or three key witnesses. We're going to say 2 for now. And they're going to have, those key witnesses are going to have a evidence basically that's attached to them that you're going to want to try to get from them. Whether it be, whatever it is, it's going to be randomly generated, but it's going to be key. So you're going to want to find these key witnesses and talk to them. So up here in our case generation script, we're going to go ahead and start working on that. So we're going to go ahead and create 2 public variables here. I'm going to go ahead and write a comment, and we're going to call these key witnesses. Now, I definitely suggest you guys go ahead and play around with how we generate the case. This is a perfect time for you guys to practice and learn and kind of figure out what you want to do and update it, make it better, because you guys can definitely you guys can design stuff way better than I can, I'm sure. So this is definitely a good time for you guys to kind of experiment. So we're going to create key witnesses. We're going to create 2 of them. So we're going to create public type suspect. They're public variables, and this is going to be key witness. We're going to call it key witness 1, like that. And then we're going to go ahead and create another public suspect. And this is going to be key witness 2, right? So now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and leave this create new suspect function alone, and we're going to go ahead and call a public or private function. Excuse me. It's going to return a type, so we're going to go ahead and return type suspect, right? Excuse me. Return type suspect, and we're going to go ahead and say create new key witness. So there's a couple things we need to talk about or kind of decide what a key witness has, right? And we already know that a key witness has a name, a gender, all that stuff, just like the robber here. And so what we can kind of do is either consolidate, okay, so what we can do, a couple things, is instead of repeating all of this code, we can kind of go ahead, I'm going to actually hit enter a few times to kind of make some space here so you don't have to look down at the bottom. We can kind of zoom into the middle here. But basically what I'm thinking about doing is kind of making this a little bit better. So instead of returning nothing here and establishing a robber down here as a new suspect, we can go ahead and create a temporary robber and down here and manipulate it. But what we can do is create a function that we can call and say, hey, set player. How would this work? We can say, let's test it out. We're gonna go ahead and create a private function here. It's gonna be return type void for now, and it's gonna be set up. We're gonna call it setup player, or excuse me, setup suspect. we'll call it general info. So general info, what I'm thinking is general info is going to be the age, the name, and the gender, right? Everything else we can kind of set up later. So what we can do is return certain types. So actually we'll go ahead and be more specific. So for this one we'll go ahead and say choose return suspect dot, I think you can do return suspect dot gender types, right? Gender, I think you can do that. Let's look. I'm doing this all on the fly, so you know. It's, oh yeah, so gender types, that's what we would like to look at. Is it private? It's public. I'm gonna go ahead and let's say it should be suspect dot gender types. There we go. So that's the type we're going to return, is suspect gender types, and we're going to actually go ahead and call this function decide gender. Right? So now what we'll also, so I'm going to actually go up here. You see this if else statement here where we decide what oh, excuse me, not the if else statement. It's here, the system.array genders. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And it's actually this robber.suspect gender here. I'm going to go ahead and copy these both. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Like I said, I'm going to drop down into our decide gender function that we just created, this method, and I'm going to paste it in there. And we're going to actually go ahead and fix, we're going to refactor some of our code here. So now we're going to go ahead and create a new robber. In this create new robber here is going to return a type suspect now, right? And we're going to say new robber, like that. Oh, we'll call it temp. Temp robber is going to be equal to a new suspect. Temp robber here is now, what is oh, excuse me, suspect, like that. So you do suspect, temp robber is now equal to a new instance of it. We're going to go ahead and capture temp robber, and I'm going to start replacing a few things. So instead of creating the new suspect like that, we're going to say that we're going to get rid of that. Suspect type is going to be robber, but we're going to change, instead of, suspect type is still going to be robber, but just go ahead and copy the temp robber and replace what we had before. So it's temp robber.suspect type. You can go ahead and delete the suspect gender for now. Those two lines that we just copied and pasted and put in our new decide gender script. We're going to go ahead and copy or create a new private function called private void. Actually, it's going to return an integer, and it's going to be decide age. Now, you might be wondering, why in the world are we doing it like this? Well, this is going to give you all, and me later, the ability to kind of expand on the different things. So if we want a weird way to decide gender, we're going to be able to do that with this function. If we want a weird way or a more specific way on deciding age, we can go ahead and do this because we have a separate method that can handle that. It's not all going to be bogged down and repeated over and over in all these functions, right? We can just call it once and make it as complicated as we want later on. So now I'm going to go ahead and copy temp robber. I'm going to go temp robber.suspect age is going to be equal to this new function, decide age. But first, I'm going to go ahead and copy random.range 19 to 55. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste this in our return part of our decide age. So it's a private integer, decide age, right? And in brackets, we're going to say return a random range between 19 and 55. So this should return a value, an integer value here between 19 and 55, and that's how we're going to set up our age. So I'm going to go ahead and copy decide age function here, and where we have temp robber.suspect age is going to be equal to random range. We're going to go ahead and delete random range, and we're just going to say decide age, and don't forget your parentheses. I'm going to control S to save. I'm going to go into Unity, make sure we don't have any too big of errors yet. Which I know we're going to have a couple because I've been erasing stuff, but that's all right. We'll go ahead and fix that in just a moment. Hopefully I can. This is acting weird. Okay. All right, so basically we're not returning anything yet, which we'll do in just a second. So now we need to go ahead and create a private function. Private string, that is, and this is going to be decide name, right? And this will probably inherit some, or will probably get something. You'll probably have to send it something, but we don't know that yet. We'll decide that in just a second. So now what we're doing is we're setting the suspect type as robber. We're deciding an age based on a little method here that we can reuse hundreds of times without rewriting the code, which is perfect. And now we're going to go ahead and copy this suspect gender here. I'm going to copy this if-else statement like that. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go ahead and in decide name, we're going to go ahead and paste it in there. And then I'm going to actually erase it up here in our create new robber, and we're going to go ahead and write a new line of code. And this is going to be temp robber dot name, suspect name, is going to be equal to a decide name. Right? And this already, you can probably tell this is looking a lot better, right? To me it's a lot cleaner. So now what we need to do is see how we're returning a variable here in our decide age, right? We just said that we're going to be returning a type int. We need to go ahead and do that for our new suspect gender types and suspect and decide name, because we do the same thing. So here in our decide gender, it's a private method. It's returning a suspect.genderTypes variable. And so we're creating a system.array, and we're calling that array genders. Okay. So what we're doing now is we are retrieving all the types of gender, which in this case we only have two. It's male or female. You can have whatever you want, but I only included male and female. So what we're doing is we're getting those two values, male and female, and we're storing it in an array called genders. And now we're going to go ahead and access that array using this line of code, right? It's called suspect.genderTypes. Excuse me for that vibration. My phone just went off. Suspect.genderTypes. So it's getting a value of random range of the length of that new array called genders. So what this is doing, I'll go ahead and explain it a little bit more. Is if you have an enumeration, let's say suspect types, right? We have four types: witness, robber, none, and keep witness. Okay. I want to create an array of all these types. So what we're doing is we're creating an array of all those types. So it's basically creating a space with these types listed. And then what we want to do is randomly choose one of those. So that's what this line of code does here. We're saying, hey, randomly pick one of those values, 0 to 1, so the index value of that. So the index value for witness is 1 or 0, and then 1, 2, and 3, because we start at 0 when we code. So we have 0, 1, 2, and 3, kinda. Just think of that like that for now. It can be more complicated with enumerations because you can actually set these to values. But think of this as 0, 1, 2, and 3, right? So when we create a random range from 0 to the length of that, so 0 to 4 in this case, it's going to go 0 to 4, but it's only going to generate either 0, 1, 2, or 3. It's going to point to one of these, right? So if we generate a random number that is 1, it's actually going to point to robber, and it's going to assign that type. In this case, we only have 2 because it's gender, so it's male and female. Hopefully you understand that. Hopefully you kind of get what I'm saying. If not, go ahead and leave it in the comment, and I'll try to get back. I'll try to explain it more. But what we want to do is go ahead and return this. Right? So we're going to go ahead and return this gender value thing. And hopefully, I control this to save. I'm just checking here. We want to make sure that we're actually slowly getting rid of some of these errors that we had. It looks like we did. So that's good. So basically, again, we're creating an array of types, gender types, and we're randomly selecting one, and we're going to return that to decide gender. So now we can go ahead and call that function in our create new robber. So what it goes do temp robber is going to be dot suspect gender is going to be equal to that function, which is called decide gender. Now, what we need to do is go ahead and fix our decide name. And basically, we're going to need to send it a gender type. So what you need to do is go ahead and do suspect.genderTypes again. And we're going to go ahead and call this gender. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if gender, instead of if robber.suspectGender, if gender is equal to male, then we're going to go ahead and return a name. If our gender else, if it's equal to female, because we only have two types, remember that, then we're going to go ahead and send a female name. Now, instead of this robber.suspect name, you're going to go ahead and just say return. So you go return male names and then a random value. I'm going to go ahead and do that for the female names. We're going to go ahead and say return like that. Now, these male names and female names are a string array up here that we created. I created like the males: Bob, Tom, Bill, Derek, Dan, Chris, Steven. Female: Stacy, Erica, Jessica, Laura, Christina, and Dawn. These are just random names I created when we created this script initially. So now that we're going to go ahead, we're returning a string, so we have our name and age and stuff. What we need to do is move our suspect. Right now we're creating an age and then a name. What we need to do is age, gender, and then pass our gender into the decide name function. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. Back up, and then go ahead and press enter and paste here. Decide name again. We're going to have to go ahead and say temp robber. Send it temp-robber.gender type. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing for BIOS, and so we're going to go ahead and create one more private function here, private method function, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to be decide bio. So this is, hey, pick a biography. And again, this can be as complicated as you want. And we're actually going to go ahead and return a string here. Like that. I'm going to go ahead and copy this line of code. Like that. This so robber.suspectBio is equal to suspect bios. I'm copying that. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in our decide bio. I'm going to erase this the robber.suspectBio, and we're going to say return. And right now we're just going to be returning 1, but eventually we're going to change this to a random range because we only have 1. We only created 1 BIOS. So now we need to go ahead and sign it with our new temp robber thing here. So I'm going to go temp robber, going to replace, so it's going to be temp robber.suspectBio is going to be equal to that new decide bio method. Like that. Now, the last thing we need to do is go ahead and return our suspect. So we're going to say return temp robber. Right? Now, when I say, hey, create new robber, we're going to say our public variable up here, robber, is going to be equal to create new robber. So you go robber is equal to that. Just like that. So now, when we click create new new game, we're going to generate a new case, and we're going to go ahead and create a robber using this create new robber function. And I'm going to go ahead and in Unity, let's check. I controlled S to save everything. And you see we have one error here, and this is because we haven't returned a type suspect in our function called create new key witness. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. As you see, we're in our create new witness here, and all you have to do to get rid of that, if you have it, is return, in this case it's going to be temp key witness. Now we haven't created that variable down here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Which all you do is go suspect, suspect temp key witness. It's going to be equal to a new suspect, not space, suspect, like that. So that should get rid of our last error here. And I'm going to go ahead and press, hopefully if I can get this to work out, this is kind of getting annoying. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and press play in Unity, and I'm going to hit new game, and we should generate a person. Which we did. We generated a robber. Her name's Laura. She's 52 years old. She's a robber, female robber. And that's the bio. So it's working still. You know, we just kind of refactored it, made it a little bit easier to read, I think. And now we're going to go ahead and start working on the create new witness, and then we'll probably end the video there. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and say temp key witness dot suspect name is going to be equal to what? Well, actually, we need to set the type first. We're going to kind of copy the same format as the robber. So we'll say suspect type is going to be equal to suspects dot suspect types dot key witness. So like that. Hopefully IntelliSense is working for you. Otherwise, you can go ahead and type it all out. We'll do temp key witness dot. Next, we'll go ahead and do age. And we're going to go ahead and set that equal to decide age, which is the new private method we created. We'll also do temp key witness dot suspect gender. We'll set that equal to a decide gender function, which is what we created below. We'll do temp key witness dot suspect name now, and we'll go ahead and set that to decide gender. Now, I'm going to go ahead and call this suspect bio, decide bio, but we haven't created bios for our key witnesses yet, so we're not going to really mess with that too much. But we'll go ahead and say temp key witness dot suspect bio, and we'll just call that the same function. So really, when I go ahead and run this in just a second, you're going to see that it actually says, oh goodness, decide bio. It's going to actually say that this person is a robber. which really isn't the case, but it's okay for now because we haven't really decided how we're going to handle that. And I actually forgot to create the name here. I actually called the wrong function. Maybe you caught that. And we actually need to go ahead and send it the temp key witness gender. So temp key witness suspect gender here. Like that. So hopefully you followed that. We did it pretty fast, but you know we've created it. So now we have this function here. We can go ahead and create our 2 key witnesses like instantly. So now let me go ahead and do that. We're going to say under all these debug statements, I'm going to go ahead and create a new. I'm going to go say key witness 1 is going to be equal to create new key witness. Now there's a couple problems that could arise, and it's a problem where it's up to you what you want to do. But basically what I was going to say is this random generation stuff, we could actually end up with the same type. We could theoretically, you could end up with the same exact 2 key witnesses. So if you don't want that, if you want to fix that, write down in the comments below. I can talk about it in the next video. I have an idea how we can definitely check to make sure that doesn't happen. But maybe you wanted to keep it that way. It's not super necessary. This is just a fun little game we're creating, so it's up to you. But what I'm actually going to go ahead and do is copy these 6 debug statements here. And I'm going to paste it below our first key witness and then below our second key witness. And we're going to go ahead and debug all these out so we can go ahead and see what type of people we've created. So we're going to say generated key witness 1. Right? I'm going to go ahead and hit control and shift, and then using the left arrow key, I'm going to highlight all these like that. And then I'm going to hold control and C to copy. I'm going to go down here and highlight all that and control V to paste, and then instead of 1 we want 2. Again, if you want to highlight whole words at a time, entire words, you go ahead and hit control and shift and then use the arrow keys to move around. Now instead of robber name and stuff, so instead of robber.suspect name, robber.suspect age, we're going to go ahead and copy key witness 1 and replace all these. I'm just double clicking here on robber and then control V to paste. Gonna go ahead and control C, copy key witness 2 and paste all this down there. Control S to save, it saves the script. We're gonna jump into Unity. I'm gonna hit Control S to save the whole project and the scene. I'm gonna press play. I'm gonna hit new game and we're gonna generate a whole bunch of stuff. Now let's look at our robber. You see we generated a case. We generated a brand new robber. His name is Derek. He's age 45. We created a key witness. Her name is Dawn. She's 29. And we created another key witness. Her name is Erica. She's 54. And you can tell their key witnesses by the type. You can tell they're females by their gender and by their name. And you know that this is key witness 2 and 1. So hopefully you learned something. Hopefully I'm not too repetitive for you guys. But please leave comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel about where we're headed. And just if you have anything else to say, you're more than welcome to leave it down in the comment below. Please like, subscribe. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, or Facebook. I like to send you guys updates, tell you what I'm up to on those outlets. All the links in the description are in the description below. If you want to check out and download Unity 4.6, you can do that. If you want to check out my Facebook or whatever, you can do that. The link will also be there for the game design document that's available up on Google Drive. It's all there. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys next time in October Game of the Month episode 2.